Hi, we are back and we are starting our first color glazing with gloss glazing liquid. And color glazing, as you saw in our first portrait, is I'm just using the primary colors red, yellow, blue, and I'm pretty sure this is Cadmium red light, Hansa yellow, and a Cobalt blue. And I'm just adding my white and my black at the bottom, and it looks as though I've already mixed in my gloss glazing liquid directly to my pure pigment. At this point in time, it's really like I don't have a value scale that I created, although it looks as though I'm kind of making one as I go. Now it's all about focusing on what colors need to go where. And I could tell that I wanted to kind of start thinking about the yellows first because it's already so close to the cadmium red light color. And when you add yellow on top of red, it's going to start to bring out the warmer hues of the skin. And in the picture, it did look like it's either a really hot day or it's really close to like a hot environment, because the way the picture was taken, there's a lot of warm colors in there. So I wanted to make sure I got those in right away. And I'm using, check out how little paint is in that glazing that I'm using at the moment. It's not a lot at all. Okay, so anytime you add white, as a reminder, look at how opaque that looks. So I have to add a lot of glaze at the moment to get that color down to transparent, that paint down to transparent. But I found a brownish color that I really liked, and I'm just kind of going in and looking for my midtones. And by adding my midtones directly over the wrinkles, it's going to soften those hard lines and kind of begin to create that gradient that I was talking about from dark to light. The dark is already there, so this mid-tone value is just going to start to shape it a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm adding some red glazes, and I'm trying to look for places where he might be flushed or maybe a little bit sunburned, or maybe some I don't know, just red pigment, and it will start to make them look alive, because if you start adding that pure some red pigment to their skin, we're really kind of thinking about the blood running underneath, the blood vessels underneath our skin that cause us to flush and blush and be alive and healthy. So I'm probably going to say this in every portrait, but there is a little bit of a rule that you can use to help you figure out which pigments should go where. So I found out about this from James Gurney's book, and I know a lot of artists use it, and I don't know where it originated from, but it has really helped me with my paintings, is that there's a lot of yellow in the forehead, a lot of pinks and reds in the cheek across here, and a lot of blues in this area, and a lot of it has to deal with not only the thinness and thickness of our skin in those areas, but what we see, like the blood vessels underneath, how we see that. Also, a lot of men will have facial hair that kind of creates like a blue undertone on the skin down here. And when I say blue, I really don't mean just take your cobalt blue and just slather it on down there. Another option you could do is kind of make a mixture of blue, yellow, red, with blue being the heaviest color, and kind of thin it out with your glaze, and maybe start only putting that bluish purpley shadow color in the areas down here that you know you're seeing those shadows. Okay, another thing you might think about is, what is the undertone of the black you're using? So I usually use a carbon black, and I think I am using a carbon black at the moment. Carbon black has a blue undertone, and they do that to make it appear very black. And the cool thing about knowing that is you can really play with that black, like for instance when you're doing your underpainting, if you use a carbon black, you know there's going to be a lot of blues down here. You put that in, you get all your values, your shadows, and everything. And then when you do your first local color blocking in, keep that area super thin so that that blue will shine through and it will look more natural. Right now I'm using a liner brush, and a liner brush is great for exactly what the name implies, and that is giving long lines and fine details. And what I'm doing at the moment is adding in some very specific details and blending it out with a dry blender brush. Okay, so after I mix my color, I thin out that color with a lot of glaze, as you can see. And it's really important to make sure that you can see through the paint mixture that you just mixed together with the glaze. Because if you're not doing that, then it's going to be too opaque and you don't want to lose the work that you've done underneath. So look at my paint palette when I go back, and let's see what we do here. So I'm darkening the red, and I guess you can't see it that well. But essentially, after you mix your paint, maybe go up and put the paint down there and add the glaze to that spot instead of adding the glaze directly to the mixed paint. Otherwise, you're gonna have to apply a lot of glaze to get that transparent. So I'm not sure if that made sense. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I'm using the liner brush to add in some of those like stubble, like that stubble that you see around like the nose and like around the mouth area where the beard, the whiskers are. And then again, I just blend it out with a dry brush so it's soft. So you can still see it. It's not like it's gone completely. But when you have more details on the face, specifically hair, pores, or whatever, detail should come forward, or detail appears to come forward and blurriness appears to go back. So it's very important to not detail everything, because then that would look more like a pointillism. And the reason for this is because people are constantly moving. Even when we're completely still, we're still breathing. There's still blood flowing through our body. And because we're constantly moving, the people that are looking at us are seeing somewhat of a blur effect. And we can pick up details only in specific instances where we focus on that specific area. So by knowing that, it's kind of fun to play with that idea and know that the blurriness will fall back, details come forward. So where do you think details would be good to be placed? It's really up to you as an artist. Sometimes you might want it to be just on the places where you think, and no detail should be, like since the nose is protruding forward, you would want your highlights to be a little bit lighter there. Another thing too, light comes forward, dark goes back on a painting. And the last one is warm colors move forward, cool colors go back. So by knowing those three things, detail, light, and warmth, you can really play with how things appear to come forward and how things go backwards. But anyhow, you can add those details on the nose to make it appear it's coming straight out of the picture, and then maybe blend things off the side to make it appear it's going back into the background. Or what you can do is choose to put those details and that information about lightness and darkness and warmth and coldness. Choose to do it in a specific area that you want to pull your viewers' attention. So maybe it's not for instance, since we are humans, our focus is, when we see a portrait, is to go to the eyes first. And Rembrandt was the king of kind of using this as his motivation, wanting people to be drawn to the eyes first. But since we are human and we want to be drawn to the eyes first, then where's the next place they are going to look? Normally how we look around a page is like top left to bottom right, and then we kind of go up and down, and that mainly is the way in the English language, the way we read. In other parts of the world, they may be looking at their paintings in a different way than we do. But you can use your details, use that information to draw your viewers' attention to a specific area that maybe their eyes wouldn't go to first. Okay, let's go to the next lesson.